The 2nd of June 2025. It's windy, coldish outside, kind of chilly, but that's good enough weather. It's very good weather. You're very welcome back. It's Easter. It's the Monday bank holiday, the June bank holiday. It's not a bank holiday in England or the North. Now, this is about John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Sure, there's no need for me to mention anything there. If you're too young to remember it, it was a big blow. He came to Ireland, and then he went back to America, and he was shot in Dallas. Now, I just want to give you a theory. Now, when I give you a fact, if I can stand over it, I give you the fact. Or I'll put in a disclaimer if it's legal advice that I can't stand over it, but this is the legal advice. But do you know what's happening with JFK? And it makes a lot of sense. There is a bit of talk going on now, and I'm looking at it very closely, along with a few other people. Castro took over in Cuba, a rip-roaring communist regime offering Russia a military nuclear launching base in Cuba, right on the doorstep of America. Brezhnev, the Russian prime minister or leader of a communist state, a brutal communist state, Stalin wasn't dead 10 years at the time, started up this communist regime. Now, that was a shock to American and the CIA and the deep state. And they decided to launch an attack on Castro. And I have to admit and put my hands up that I would have been backing an attack on Castro. You might be surprised on that. I'd have went in and tried and shoot them out of it, get him out of there. For the hardship he's caused since is desperate. And I made a video there on Jerry Adams and that, and he supports him. And Michael D. Higgins lamented his death. Totally wrong. That's a cruel thing to do. Castro's dead, but this country has the highest rate of female prostitution in the world. They have to sell their bodies to get a bit to eat. It's not right. It's a brutal state, and it proves my point that socialism is a mental defect in human beings. It's a mental defect. And in Ireland, every party wants to be more socialist than the other. So you have Sinn Féin socialist. Fine Gael are gone so socialist now that Sinn Féin can't keep up with them. And when they have the socialism done with money and property and all of that, the next thing they move on to claim they can change the weather. And then they claim they can bring in all the migrants and make one big world community out of it, which is an attack on property. Now, we scored a little victory today in that a Polish leader got elected with a very narrow majority, who is endorsed by Trump and doesn't like the EU, so he's on our side. So it's good. It's very good. Very congratulations to the Polish people. And I wonder, was it a fair election? But he got elected by a narrow majority anyway, so that's good. Now, we'll maybe talk about him later. Now, the story is that the election was coming up in 1960 between Kennedy and Nixon, Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon was the breed of the Border Reivers from the borders area of England. And the deep state, the big fellas in America, wanted Nixon to win. And they were going to go in and attack Cuba. But Kennedy got elected. And Kennedy was a terrible shock. So Kennedy was as big a shock to the American system, CIA and all of them. He was as big a shock and horror as Trump was to the lefties now. And so Khrushchev told Kennedy, you attack Cuba, we'll launch a nuclear attack on you. And it was a question of calling that bluff. What would have happened if he had to go in and attack Cuba? There was the Russians there protecting their communist statelet. Would the Russians have attacked with a nuclear weapon? I can tell you, I barely remember it. We were told by RTE the end of the world was clear. I remember Charles Mitchell on RTE television, up in a house up the road. We had no television. telling us we're at the end of the world. I remember a boy who's alive today. He's a senior citizen, lives in my area, crying that he wouldn't get home to see his mother. The world was on the edge of nuclear war, and we're being told how to build huts and underground bunkers and brick up our windows and everything. That is a fact. And Kennedy had to decide, would he leave Cuba alone or would he halt? And he halted. And this was to the shock of the American system. They had Nixon all lined up to go in and take that chance. Whether he would or not, we don't know. And Kennedy got in and said no. They had everything ready, including a huge Cuban population, all ready to get Castro, bring him out and hang him, same as they hung Saddam Hussein. And the election took place. And just like the elections of Trump and the effect of them on the way of thinking, this was a serious blow. They now couldn't invade Cuba. Even if they disobeyed the president's order, President Kennedy, they couldn't invade it. And so they turned all their efforts on killing Kennedy. And you know the rest. According to one doctor there was 3 bullets. One went in and hit him in the throat and left him, he couldn't breathe. There was three bullets. There were several shooters. And Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested. And he didn't get talking because Jack Ruby shot him, thereby shutting him up. Jack Ruby died in jail. And Robert Kennedy, his brother, was shot dead as well. Now, what's changed now is the security level is very, very high. And this deep state is not so deep that it can actually impact the president's protection, his Secret Service protection. And when Trump was threatening the system, and you see the hatred and the horror, you see that Keir Starmer sent 200 electioneers over to stop him getting elected in America. They tried to do him every way they could. And then when that failed, they tried to kill him. And they tried to kill him at Butler, Pennsylvania. And I do not accept this thing that the bullet was only a make-up. There was a fellow called Curry shot dead. No American thinks it was a fake. One of the bullets hit another man and killed him. A fireman. So he was shot in the ear. The bullet came there. And Trump changed his head. So if it had to hit him there, he was gone. They got it unlucky. Their luck ran out. Their luck was in with John F. Kennedy, their luck was in with Robert Kennedy, and their luck was out at Butler. And next thing, a guy comes up where he was playing golf in the golf course in Florida, and the Secret Service was in there, and their job was to protect him. And a fella in the Secret Service saw the barrel of a rifle coming out through the ditch, coming out through the ditch like this. What's that? And chased him and stopped Trump's murder. And he posted, he was motivated by the general view to stop Trump without any leading. So it's possible that the people who've done all these shootings were just like the fellow that shot John Lennon, the Beatle, and shot them, just glory hunting. Because the fellow that tried to kill Trump in Florida is alive yet, and he apologised on social media for not succeeding. The other guy, was he Boots or something? He was shot through the head and killed. So who was driving him? What teaching was he getting? The hatred against Trump was enough to make them kill him. And many of the social media on the ladies of The View would say, where's John Wilkes Booth when we need him? Nancy Pelosi said something similar. In other words, why does nobody assassinate him? The strength of the deep state is not enough to overcome the belief by the Secret Service they have to protect their man. You saw the Clint Eastwood film on the protecting the president. But don't forget, a woman was in charge of Trump's protection detail in Butler, Pennsylvania, and she had to go. She did not dot all the I's. Who can prove she did it deliberately or not? So she wasn't capable of protecting the president. Only good luck and a few good prayers protected him. Now that would make perfect sense. Nixon was going to charge into Cuba and risk a world war just like Frederick Merckx is doing today. And Kennedy and Nixon, the same as Merckx, and Kennedy got in and stopped. The same as if instead of the Merckx winning, the ADF in Germany had won a landslide majority, they'd have stopped the war in Ukraine, and there'd be consternation with the big arms suppliers, the big war machines all over. They'd try and kill him. That's the way I see it. And you see Nigel Farage in England, he's been careful not to be too much in favour of Russia because he knows they'll bump him off as well. The vicious left want these done. They're vicious. Now, I can't prove any of this. I'm just telling you, it adds up in my head. They were all ready to go, invade Cuba. They were going to teach them a lesson. To hell with Russia. Same as Frederick Merckx today. And then when they invaded, we don't know what would have happened. But Kennedy got in, and Kennedy was not prepared to take the risk. He was a good man. He was not prepared to take it, and he stopped the invasion. So they had all this ready. So instead of going after Castro, they went after Kennedy. And that would make perfect sense to me. Now, I'm speculating, and there's no need to be abusive towards me here. I'm only trying to bring to your attention what seems to be coming out of the woodwork. And it does make a good deal of sense. Have a think about it. We'll see you back. Comment underneath. We're keeping up good. My channel, I meet people and they say, yeah, it's great form of news. However long more I'll have time. I mean, eventually, time is my most precious thing. When I make this video, something's not getting done outside. So we'll see you back. Good luck and thank you very much.